Members of my staff intend to make every effort to communicate to this community and the other minority communities of the city of New York and elsewhere that we are of good faith and good intention, and we are hopeful of building programs that can tap the fantastic resources of this great university. Columbia is here, and it's been here, and it's going to be here for many years to come. And it's a place where resources that can be brought to bear on community problems are in great supply. And I think the community in which I was born and raised ought to be tapping those resources. They're here. We have the advantage of having them here. We have at the top a commitment to make them available. The urban center is the instrument, the catalyst, to try to see that they are delivered when requested. Well, let's seek them out, and let's put it to the test, and let's together turn our attention to some of the problems. So I think the answer to your question directly is we have a staff. Not
of this service as a description of the means of the service. There may easily have been misunderstanding by some, for which no one should be blamed, as to whether this was a line of credit to be used as a kind of local, very small scale anti-poverty program. That was not the objective. Ambassador Williams is entirely right, and the kinds of things he has described, without my attempting to give you an evaluation.
How long is this line of credit available for?
I wouldn't want to comment about this matter of pace. That's the kind of question that persuades me that one press conference of this kind may be enough for me, but I will say only this, that having been an academic administrator myself over a considerable period of years, I know that it can take a lot of time, given the necessary processes of communication in an institution which has many faculties and many points of view. And I won't say this about Columbia, but I will say that it would not be surprising.
The morning side park and do the removal of minority group residents from this neighborhood, which has been going on for the last 3 or 4 years. What the status of the new thing?
Well, this gets somewhat away from the purpose of this conference. I'll try to answer you as briefly as possible. At a previous press conference at which we announced the appointment of Mr. Pei as the chief architect and master planner of the university, I stated on that occasion that it is our plan in the future to adhere as much as possible to high-rise construction as a way of reducing the pressure on the scarce land of this community. Or to put it in different words, we recognize that there are 3 claimants on the land of this community. The residents of this community, other institutions of this community, and Columbia University. And we want to develop policies and programs which will, as far as possible, respect all of these interests. The second point that I raised at that time, at that press conference, was that while there's a great student population explosion across the country, and many colleges and universities, indeed new ones that are rising out of the earth, are taking up some of this great expansion of student population, there are certain schools, and I think that it's quite right that Columbia University should be one of them. That's a question that I'll have to shift to a wide multitude of people on campus and off campus. Well, I do, but it's something that I don't talk about in public. I sometimes talk to my wife about it, but very seldom. In other words, I'm content with the developments that have taken place. I'm very happy about many developments. There's been a greatly increased sense of teamwork on the campus on the part of both students and faculty, a much greater sense of relaxation, and I think that these are values which not only have been attained, but which we propose to maintain. Yes?
Well, the reference in the press release to plan is limited to the curriculum survey. community ideas about content of courses, the nature of courses. We have rather broad contact with the Harlem community, a contact which, quite candidly, is not easy to develop and certainly not easy to implement into cooperative action. There is in Harlem, I found when I returned, some rather deep feelings about Columbia University because of some historic events over which the urban center has no control nor influence. And rising out of that comes some suspicion as to who I am, why I'm here, and what I'm trying to do. There was not just a little bit of the impression that maybe Columbia had bought themselves a colored boy to solve the problems of Columbia Harlem, exacerbated by the gymnasium issue. If Harlem has that impression, or if anyone in Columbia has that impression, they're in, over the years ahead, for a very rude awakening. We have developed a community program staff under the leadership of Mr. Hewitt Guinier. Hewitt Guinier is someone, very short bio sketches on the back of our little brochure, who has been active in the community down through the years, in union work and community action work. Under him, he has a staff consisting of Mr. Garland Wood, a young black pro. And we get all kinds of requests for grants. And when I indicate we are not a granting institution, we don't have $10 million here to give away. If Ford wanted $10 million to be put in Harlem, it can put it in Harlem. It doesn't have to give it to Columbia. And the thing that takes time is when you have a problem and an expression of a desire for assistance. We have to work with the groups in identifying how Columbia's resources can be brought to bear on this problem, not in a one-shot effort, but in a fashion that gets us wedded to a commitment to helping to solve the problem under the leadership and in response to the initiative of the community.
Gentlemen, I'd like to address the more interesting.
I can put it in the words which I often used at the United Nations when I said that you won and I was never elated over success because you know that after success there are many, many difficult problems. Now, on the other side, are you ever discouraged by failure because you're...
Ambassador Franklin, you've said that you are not a funding organization. Could you tell us just what the Urban Center will be doing in the community?
Why don't you start it over?
All right. Could you just... Are we running? Yes, we're running. Ambassador Williams, you said that the Urban Center is not a funding organization. Can you give us an idea of the kinds of things it will be doing to help the community?
Yes, the center is a catalyst within the body of Columbia University to enable it to broaden its competence in the area of urban and minority problems. We're anxious to be responsive to initiatives from the community seeking the resources, the skills that are available at a great university. And if these programs are presented to us and do call upon Columbia's resources, we will be willing to fund appropriate programs of that type, and are funding some at the present time.
Could you give me an example?
Yes, for example, through Teachers College, there are a number of programs presently mounted in Harlem, ranging all the way from a program training people to take tests through a program training teachers' aides. We're also working with several groups in improving the delivery of health care in Harlem, and we're hoping in the future to make this